Hi, today I'm going to make German style crispy pork hocks. At the Bite of Seattle, I've seen a German food vendor that had crispy pork hocks, and it looked pretty interesting and delicious, so I wanted to give it a shot. Here's a version I found on the internet that looked pretty simple. Um, so basically, this is from the supermarket. It was in a vacuum sealed bag. It's called the pork foot, and I basically am just using the hock and the middle joint, and the trotters I'll use for something else like a stock. But a little garlic, and this is a salt pepper blend, and I'll coat the pork with that, and I'll roast in the oven with 2 cups of broth. Traditionally you would use beer, but I don't have beer. And of course, when I do meat, I like to add a layer of onions. And also I used a foil-lined pan, so it's easier to clean up. So the first thing I'm going to do is spread this around and start adding the salt pepper mixture. Some recipes call for using caraway seed or pickling the pork hock, but I want to do something really simple and just simple ingredients, and then if it tastes good, I'll start expanding the recipe and trying different flavors. Some recipes call for caraway seed. So basically it's a little garlic. I don't want to add a lot of garlic, but since it's a big piece of meat, it's the salt and pepper that's going to do the main flavoring. And it's okay to be generous because this is a big hock. So that's first one. And this one just happened to be part of the joint, and it seems like it has a good amount of skin since my quest is for crispy pork skin. Okay, now I'll set it up for roasting, and this I'll use for broth. All right, here's the pork hock set up for the oven. I try to stand them upright so they get nice and the skin gets nice and crispy, or at least it gets a chance to dry out. I'm going to add the broth. Also, traditionally, I think you would use beer, but as I mentioned, I don't have beer. And this is 2 cups of chicken broth, basically 2 cups of water and 1 small chicken bouillon. And into a 350 oven it goes, and 4 hours. I'll link the recipe source in my show notes. All right, the hocks have been in the oven for about 90 minutes. I just took them out and I'm going to baste them and check on the progress. They're cooking nicely. And looks like the skin is starting to dry out a little, and hopefully we'll end up with nice crispy bits. But it's hot. I don't know if it needs to be rotated. Try to keep it standing. Okay, back in the oven for another couple hours and see how it turns out. All right, here are the pork hocks after 4 hours of cooking. Just checking. It's definitely crispy here. On the underside, it's still a little soft because it's not getting the direct heat. And this one, it's not bad, a little soft also. but it's definitely cooked. So I think what I'll do is drain the juices and allow it to bake probably another 30 minutes to see if the skin crisps up a little more. But other than that, it should be ready to go. Alright, the liquid's drained, and I pulled the foil out of the other pan and just put it on a flat pan so you get dry heat. Alright, here's the pork hock after another half hour of baking on a dry sheet. Firmed up a little. This side's still soft. This side's crunchy. I think it's good. I don't want to overcook the meat. I could cut it off and then broil it, but I think I'll leave it as is and taste it. Alright, here are the juices from the pork hock that I strained out, and I'll give it a taste. Has a nice oniony, kind of mellow flavor. And what I'll do is add a little of the sauerkraut juice to give it a little tartness to offset the richness of the pork hock. How much juice I add is just gonna a little at a time. That's probably like 2 tablespoons, and I'll stir and taste. And as with all things, when you're experimenting, you just add a little at a time until you get the desired flavor. That adds a little nice dillness, dilly to it. I'll add a little more. That's probably another tablespoon. So far probably 2 to 3 tablespoons of juice, or sauerkraut juice. Oh, that's really nice. Alright, the way I'm going to finish off this sauce is heat it up and take a stick blender and emulsify the sauce. Alright, here's the finished pork hock after 4.5 hours cooking at 350. This side is, the skin seems pretty firm. I have a little sauerkraut, and it's cold. Try to contrast the hot food with the cold food. And I also have a little sauce that I just emulsified. So I'll just pour a little on the side. And dribble a little bit on the pork itself for extra flavor. My main objective was try to get crispy skin. We'll see if I was successful there. Oop, that is definitely crunchy on this side. This side I think was a little softer. But let's see how it tastes. It's definitely cooked. It's falling off the bone. Kind of a big piece. Use my finger. Meat is juicy, tender, and has actually a pretty good flavor for not being pickled or marinated. It's all from probably the onions and broth. Skin is kind of crispy, I think an alternative to do this is to heat it in a hot oven, so when you're close to being done, last 20 minutes, jack up the temperature of the oven to broil or 500, 550, and let it go for 20 minutes to crisp up the skin.